about 75 miles an hour right now. If I wanted to go faster, I could. That's 90. I'm not even revving the car out. It sounds good. Come on, Tesla. But this thing is a lot of fun, man. The way this sounds, listen to it. The way it makes you feel. And those feelings include being uncomfortable sometimes. But this car has one thing that other newer, whatever you want to call it, you know, modern cars with more technologies and technologically savvy cars don't have, and that thing is a character. Okay, we got a couple of corners to ourselves. Let's see what this thing got. The handling is just superb. I ran this car for a year, and one of the things that I wasn't concerned about was out-handling every fucking thing on the road. Literally everything. What you do need to get for these cars is just tires, because they already come well equipped with terms of sporty suspension from the factory. They are low enough, they are high-tech enough in terms of them riding pretty good over the bumps. This thing's power is totally stock. It only has 170 horsepower, and you see how much fun I'm having in this thing. You don't need tons of power to have that much fun, guys. I'm telling you. And let's talk about the character part, because the character is just unbeatable from any other hatchback that I've driven. I recently had a Fiesta ST for 2.5 months or so. Great car, tons faster than this, tons. When I'm talking about faster, I mean it would literally put busloads in the straight line. But in terms of the character, I was just over it. I didn't really enjoy the turbocharged drivetrain. I didn't really enjoy the fact that kind of felt, I don't know, less character. I can't really explain it like this, but it just wasn't as committed to being a fun hatchback. This thing doesn't care about anything else but being a fun hatchback. Then I just feel like the other car, it was just taking itself too seriously. Literally no hint of understeer. No hint of understeer. And that's that rattleness and the fact that suspension is kind of tired on this thing, to be honest with you. But oh man, this thing is a lot of fun. I have genuinely forgotten how much fun this thing is. I'm now going to smoke a cigar while filming a review, a comprehensive, in-depth review. I'm trying to prove a point. Trying to prove a point that I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now, which is this. Look infinitely cool. I wouldn't be able to do that with any other hot hatchback. Alright? Imagine me by the side of 2015 Fiesta ST. Hell, imagine me by the side of yellow Type R with red interior. Yo. And people are actually rushing to buy those cars because they're desirable Type R color scheme or whatever. But internet is missing in terms of YouTube. Daddy dogs and Hoovies and whoever's and people that are dressed like 7-year-old boys. Grown men, 40-year-old men that are dressed like 7-year-old boys. The factor of style, alright? Nobody knows what cool cars are actually like. Nobody knows how to distinguish cool cars like these that aren't necessarily too expensive from other not cool cars like 2015 Ford Fiesta ST that ironically that I just own and that I'm comparing this car to. Now, 2015 Ford Fiesta ST is triple the price of this car. Arguably, it is the triple the car of this car as well. It's faster. The one that I owned was stage 3, 260 horsepower or something like that. E40 mix, some relatively gauge stuff like that. you have to use those terms. Access sport, vape. That's what you do when you do a Ford Fiesta ST. This thing, shift with one hand, hand out the window with another, and then sometimes you hold the steering wheel as well. You look cool, you know what I'm saying? 2.5 steps. 2.5 steps. The wheelbase of 97 inches. Guys, the hot hatchbacks are not supposed to be the 4-door full-size cars. I was really sad that we couldn't get the 2-door Ford Fiesta ST. As I said, I love the way those cars drive, but the style is one thing that is missing from those cars. The size of this thing is so perfect. I can almost horizontally park this thing in my parking spot. The size is so perfect. The parking is easy, that's why you buy these cars. Ford Fiesta ST was slightly bigger, but it had 4 doors, so it was kind of compromised for the US market. And people in the US market, the consumers, are so stupid that we discontinued that car. R53 should be the only Mini Cooper that anybody should buy. Why is that? Well, uniqueness of this car, all right? It's the smallest one, it's the most reliable one, surprising to everybody else. The newer Mini Coopers, the 2.0s that are shared with like X3s and X1s, the 2.0 BMW engines, they're horrible. They spin in rod bearings and all that thing. This thing, to maintain it, you'd need to change timing chain tensioner, not the timing chain itself. If you want to service it and be extra safe, you could do that as well, but you just need to change a $50 part, which is the timing chain tensioner, and $5,000 oil changes. That's it. That's all you need. This car has 185,000 miles on it. Runs like a champ, pulls like a train, all the good stuff like that, okay? F56s we just talked about. The engines, they spin the rod bearings. From the inside, they're actually smaller than this car. We're gonna talk about that a little later. The R56s, the Peugeot engines, horrible, horrible. They spin the chain, however you would explain that. They eat through the coils. They did a mid-cycle upgrade from those engines because they had so many faults, but it didn't save them still. Those engines were horrible, okay? You can get more power out of them, obviously, but once you put a 15% supercharger pulley on this thing, you have 220 brake. That's all you need, because this is the lightest and smallest one, remember? Come on, this is a good look, man. This is a good look. This is a Chrysler-derived 1.6-liter supercharged engine that is unblowable, okay? They don't blow. They jump the timing chains, as I said, because people don't change the timing chain tensioners on these, which are a replaceable part, very easy to change. They're unblowable. They're iron block, and they can take a bunch of power up to 250, 260. Now, serviceable parts. We just did a pretty large service on this thing. This car is a one-owner car, regardless of the fact that it's 185,000 miles old, 2006 model, the one kind of a model, exactly the year and a specification that you want. We'll talk about that a little later. Now, we just did a power steering pump on this thing, and well, it was quite a bit of money. It was 60% of the car's value. Yeah, I like this car, but what do you want me to say? Other than the power steering, well, power steering pumps go on these cars, and recalls are only up to cars of 2004 and older. This car didn't have a recall on these, so we couldn't do it under the recall. We also just changed the supercharger bypass valve, which fixes the yo-yo acceleration that is very known on Cyan FRS. I swear to God, this car feels way faster than Cyan FRS, and it's bone stock, other than the supercharger bypass valve. And that doesn't add any power, just a pound or two of boost on the supercharger. Let me compare this Mini Cooper to the newer Mini Coopers, okay? I've been in an R56, I felt less comfortable in that car as well, and especially in an F56, which is contrary to what size increase of those cars actually have to offer, right? The bigger the hatchbacks and bigger the cars, the more the space has to be. That's not how it is. I've driven both R56, F56. I feel much more comfortable in this car. And to the contrary, again, this car is much lighter than than those two. R56s start at 2750 with no sunroof and manual transmission car, and F56s start at 2,900 pounds, no sunroof, S model, manual transmission, which is, you would agree, it's quite a bit of weight. This thing is right under 2,600 pounds with no sunroof. It would be 2,650 with panel sunroof, all the options. This car only has Harman Kardon sound system, leather interior, and heated seats. That's it. No buttons on the steering wheel, no weird stuff that you don't need from year 2002. Okay. Basically every part wears on this car, okay? Whether those are suspensions, since their springs get tired or shocks should be replaced. This car seems to be fine and shocks seem to be replaced. Now the bushings in the suspension actually are very rugged. They seem to hold up very well. The supercharger oil has to be changed by a professional. I cannot stress this enough. It's not just an easy replacement, okay? If you don't seal it right, and if it's not changed by an official mechanic of an R53 certified, the supercharger blows. That's how my supercharger blew. Right after I changed the oil, the supercharger wasn't making any noise. Come to find out there was no oil in the supercharger, okay? Because it was sealed not properly. Engine oil, easy. Timing chain tensioner, easy to do. This car does go through tires quite a bit as well, and you do have to use summer tires, I would say, because the all-season tires really alter their fine handling that this car has from the factory, by the way. You don't need coilover suspension, you don't need nothing else. Just premium rotors and pads and premium tires. That's it. Handles amazing, no hint of understeer. Great. It's a great handling little hatchback, okay? On my car, it had less miles than this, and I replaced much more parts than this. I replaced fuel pressure regulator system. They're not severely totalable mechanically, you know what I mean? If maybe the supercharger blows, you change the oil by yourself wrongfully, or you did the timing tensioner in a wrong manner, of course you're going to be mechanically totaled in this thing. But superchargers you can get $600, $700 on eBay, good deal. But if you just don't touch it, it's going to be fine. I know a couple of people that ran through those things and ran these things up to 300,000 miles. So there it goes to prove the longevity of the engine and transmission, which is a 6-speed Getrag sourced by the BMW. The interior, just a pile of shit, okay? Pile of shit. You just have to bear with it. Box of forge. That's the only way I could explain it, and if you start fixing it, you won't be able to keep up with it. So you just bear with this car, and you just say, yes, my car squeaks and rattles because race car, or some gay term like that. So you tell me, is it worth owning this car? Is it worth you putting up with rattling and the lack of premium quality in the interior and lack of comfort, and the fact that you have to explain it to your mother, girlfriend, sister, whoever it is that just bear with you, you know what I mean? Because it's not the most comfortable experience. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, you know what I'm saying? It's not. But the way this makes you feel, the way it drives, the way you're gonna feel compared to all the other cars that driving down the road, regardless of the fact that this is $2,000 or $3,000 on used market, is unparalleled in my opinion. And with that, I'll see you next time. Take care.